What if I told you that you don't need stencils, masks, or any fancy tools to make stunning gel prints? Today I'm going to go back to the basics using nothing but paint, paper, and a few simple moves to create gorgeous texture every single time. This is so easy, anyone can do it. Welcome back, friends. Today we're going to have a short video where I show you a technique that requires no stencils. Absolutely no stencils. You just need paper. You guessed it. We're going to use crumpled paper. So I've done this technique before. I haven't done it in a while, so I thought we would revisit this. So this can be really exciting depending on what colors you overlay, how many layers you overlay, etc. I mean, you could either make them as subtle as you want, as dark as you want, as light as you want, as neutral as you want. And it comes out beautiful almost every time. So if you're just starting out and you're getting, especially if you're still just getting used to the brayer, this is a great technique because you just put down a single layer with just the paint, so that will help you practice your brayering. And then leave that to sit for about 1.5 to 2 minutes. And then it should pull up really beautifully. Now I'm using a rice paper, and this is a pretty sturdy rice paper. It's actually sold on Amazon as inkjet printable rice paper, and I find that it prints really well on the plate. It's kind of sturdy and a little bit expensive, but any rice paper that you have or any kind of paper that you have that you enjoy printing on, please just go ahead and use it. So I'm also speeding this up just slightly so we can get on with it. So as you see, I have this really nice yellow paper now. Now let's try to overlay that with something. So this is a quinacridone red. And this is where our crumpled paper comes in. So depending on how wrinkled you make the paper, it's going to affect the marks that you make on the plate. And I wasn't very careful about laying it down, so I'm just going to pick up another piece of paper to get that other paint off at the top. Now, isn't that gorgeous? So picture this with other colors. Maybe this isn't exactly your color palette. Maybe this is a little too bright for you. Like maybe you're more into muted colors. Do you? Like make this your own experiment. Pick the colors that you love. And for collage papers, I think this is a great technique. On this next paper, I'm going to start with the quinacridone red. And this is going to be our background. So for the beginners out there, we have to pick up when the paint is wet. And don't dilly-dally, don't wait around to pick up that paint, because it could, depending on your paint, could dry very fast. So you want to make sure you put the paper down right away. And again, like I said, we're going to wait about 2 minutes. A common question I get is, why don't you use a Baron? These papers are kind of thin, and a Baron's really not necessary. On a thicker paper, you had to apply pressure. I'm not really applying pressure. I'm just testing for, coolness. I know if the paper feels cool, then the paint is probably still wet. And I want the paint to dry onto the paper. So this is a quinacridone purple that I'm using, which is also a transparent color. It's gorgeous. Quinacridone paints are transparent, pretty much. So they look really nice together. So I'm crumpling up another piece, but not quite as crumpled as the first time around. So I'm getting bigger marks, as you notice, and we're going to go over the quinacridone red. So when thinking about what colors to use, think in terms of contrast. Like this purple is really deep and it shows up nicely on top of the red. If I chose two colors that were similar in tonal value, then it would be so subtle that you wouldn't even really notice it that much. And so even when you're doing tone on tone, like make sure the tone is not so similar. Keep that in mind. Anyway, I am now, I still had some of the quinacridone purple on the plate. I'm picking up with, this is Titan Green Pale. This is Golden. And some of it's smeared, the quinacridone purple smeared. So we should have an interesting background paper. It's not just a single color. And I like that interesting grunge that we got with that nice bright quinacridone purple. So now this is Payne's Gray, which has a bluish tone to it. And also pairs well with the Titan Green Pale. And so we're going to use that same paper again, the crumpled paper. That was the one that had the small, tighter crumple. And you're noticing my second and third layers, I'm not waiting 2 full minutes. And it's because it's okay if I don't get all of the paint. It's okay if I leave some on the plate. So because of the way the paper was crumpled, it's looking a little too evenly distributed to me, and we're probably going to do another layer on top of that. And in the meantime, we have this nice grunge on the plate. So I'm going to pick that up with the Indian Yellow. And because of the bluish tone of the Payne's Gray, we're probably going to get a nice grungy paper with the yellow, and it's going to now be green. So we're picking that up with a fresh rice paper, and this will be another background. So again, it'll probably be about 2 minutes. Let's fast forward. So as you can see, the 2 minutes really cleaned my plate. I have a nice clean plate now, but I also have a really interesting background paper. So I'm going back to my Payne's Gray. I did have a little bit of yellow on my brayer, so I got a little bit of that into the Payne's Gray. I'm trying to get a tighter crumple on this one. And I'm going to overlay that one on the first one, first or second one that I did. I think it was the second one. This is the one that had the quinacridone red and then quinacridone purple, and now we have the Payne's Gray on top of that. Now this Payne's Gray is going to look almost black because of the colors that are underneath. But how interesting is that? I love the tonal values. We've got, 3 tones, so we've got some depth there. I might just leave that yellow one alone. So I'm going back to the quinacridone purple, because since that's in the background of this Titan Green Pale, I'm thinking it might make a good addition to this particular print. And you might have noticed that when I brayered out the purple, I did not cover from edge to edge. I did like a sloppy brayering because maybe I don't want it everywhere. So you don't have to always cover your plate. Keep that in mind. And this is another paper that has some depth, that has different tonal values. And I love that color combination. I think it's beautiful. So on this next one, I'm going to mix two colors together. This is titanium white and Indian yellow. Indian yellow, I just put a touch. I wanted a light yellow. And even still, it's not as light as I wanted. And I did have a little bit of that quinacridone purple still on my brayer, so it muted this yellow just slightly. And this is going to be our background. And in this case, I'm going for a more subtle paper. I want you to see just how subtle you can get with the papers. And my first try is actually a little too subtle, but I wanted you to, I keep in my mistakes. If you've been around here for any length of time, you know I keep in my mistakes. So this actually had a lot of grunge on the plate still, which I was not seeing with the naked eye, but that's fine. So this is tight and buff now, and I was thinking that over the buttery yellow color would be very subtle and very nice. So let's take a look. It looks good on the brayer sheet. So leave me a comment below. How experimental do you get when you're with the gel plate, or are you afraid to experiment? I hope you're not afraid. It's just paper and paint, right? Experimentation is how you get better. Now, as you could see, I can't even see it on the camera. I could see it from the reflection of the light, and that kind of didn't work out too good. So I decide I'm going to retry this, and this time I'm starting with the tight and buff on the bottom. Now you'll see I did a very, very light coat, and this time around I'm going to use my newsprint paper to print. Now this paper isn't acid free, so it's great if you're a beginner and you're just trying this out. It picks up really, really well. The prints are sometimes so beautiful. You wish they were acid free, but unfortunately they're not. So I'm crumpling up a piece of the newsprint. And that is a really nice, beautiful neutral paper. So now let's try a little bit of mixing the yellow and the white again. But this time I think I had a little more yellow. And this is Indian yellow, which is a beautiful transparent color. But of course, when you add titanium white to it, it's not transparent anymore. It becomes semi-transparent. So we got some nice marks here, and now we're going over the tight and buff with it. So I just wanted you to see that it doesn't always have to be, dark and light. It can be light and light and more subtle. And these papers are very important for collage anyway, so keep that in mind. You need to have a variety when you're making collage papers. So this is golden fluid green gold, which is also a beautiful color, also very transparent. So let's make some marks with this crumpled paper. Same one, I just reused it. And now we're going over that paper again. Obviously this is a darker green. We could have stopped it just with the tight and buff and the yellow back crumpled paper marks, but I do like this paper and the way it came out. And it's still a subtle paper. Okay, so let's take a look at the papers we made. This was the very first one with the Indian yellow. I think I mixed a little white with that, and the quinacridone red on top, which became much warmer red. This is quinacridone red background with quinacridone purple and then Payne's gray. And this one I didn't even use the crumple paper. See how beautiful that paper is? Now this one was Titan buff green, Titan green pale, and Payne's gray and quinacridone purple, and then our subtle paper at the end with the Titan buff, the Indian yellow white mixture, and the green gold. So this was quinacridone red and quinacridone purple, and then some Payne's gray on top. Looks black, doesn't it? But actually my second favorite was the purple, the one where I laid the quinacridone purple on top of, this was Titan green pale and Payne's gray. I think this is a fabulous technique. And this could also be your background layer for stenciling on top or using a mask. Or just sometimes you need a subtle paper. You could do a tone on tone. This is something that I've done in the past, will continue to do because I just always love the results. It's the simplest thing. If you're just starting out and you've never done gel printing before, anybody can do this. This is the simplest thing. So start here. All right, I hope you'll give it a try. So whether this has been your first time here or you've been here before, please give me a thumbs up, comment below. I'm really enjoying your comments lately, and definitely subscribe. I will see you soon. So take care, and don't forget to create, inspire, and share. Bye-bye. Here's another video I recommend for beginners, the one on the right.